CEO of General Motors says tariffs will cost the company up to $5 billion this year.
These figures were shared with shareholders in a letter, marking a troubling shift in the company's operations. The news didn't come with a press conference, but instead was announced quietly. On May 29, 2025, workers arrived at GM factories across the U.S., only to be told that production lines would be halted indefinitely. There was no strike, no protest, just a stunning announcement from the GM headquarters, marking the beginning of a series of closures. The reason? A perfect storm of rising costs, missing parts, and collapsing demand, compounded by political chaos. The fallout from this decision has rippled from Detroit to Mexico, Capitol Hill to Wall Street, with former President Donald Trump standing firm on his trade policies. The origin of this crisis can be traced back to the tariffs imposed by Trump's administration. Over the past several months, the government raised duties on nearly every component GM needs to build vehicles, from steel and aluminum to semiconductors and brake systems. These tariffs added up to 25% more to the price of parts, and for some categories, like those sourced from China, costs nearly doubled. Initially, GM tried to absorb the added expenses by adjusting its operations, shifting contracts, and moving some production in-house. But by May 1st, the company revised its financial outlook, warning that these tariffs could lead to a $4 to $5 billion loss this year. This news was followed by a series of shutdowns. On May 8th, GM idled its Ontario electric van plant, laying off 500 workers. Just days later, production of the Hummer EV and Silverado electric pickup were paused at the Detroit factory. Another 200 workers were let go. And then the big blow, GM's U.S. production came to a standstill. The company simply could not produce vehicles fast or cheaply enough under the current circumstances, with rising costs, parts shortages, and weakening consumer demand. The shutdown affects thousands of workers and has a ripple effect through supply chains, parts manufacturers, and dealerships. For the auto industry, this is more than just a setback. It's a shockwave. GM, once bailed out by the federal government and now aiming for an all-electric future by 2035, has been forced to pause its operations due to a policy environment it can no longer navigate. Meanwhile, Trump's response to the shutdown was calm and direct. In a Pennsylvania rally, when asked about the GM situation, he remarked, "I don't like what they did. We've supported these companies, but they made their choices." He didn't rage or offer relief. Instead, he emphasized that GM's failure to adapt to tariffs was their issue, not his administration's. The reaction on Wall Street was swift. GM's stock dropped 5%, followed by Ford and Stellantis. Analysts rushed to adjust their forecasts, some predicting that this could mark the beginning of an era of auto industry contraction. The effects are already visible in various parts of the U.S. In Michigan, a diner near a GM facility saw a 40% drop in breakfast traffic. In Kentucky, a logistics company canceled driver hires. Workers in Tennessee and Indiana are anxiously awaiting the next steps, uncertain about the future. As the political battle over blame rages on, GM insists it's responding to tariffs and policies that make it harder to operate, while unions argue that workers are paying the price. Consumers, meanwhile, face fewer cars, higher prices, and longer waits. This crisis is more than just an economic setback. It's a psychological blow, showing how even the biggest companies can falter when faced with unpredictable policy shifts. The machines are quiet, the production lines are still, and workers are left wondering when, if ever. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for more updates and content. We've got plenty more coming your way.